guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be looking into a series of unsolved murders in Jefferson Davis Parish in Louisiana, America. And these happened between 2005 and 2009. Now this case in kind of the media outlets and things like that is very well known as either the Jeff Davis 8 or the Jennings 8. And they actually found the bodies of 8 women in canals or swamps in and around the surrounding areas of Jennings. I'd just like to give my normal disclaimer. I don't mean any disrespect to anyone I'm going to talk about today. I've just gathered the information off the internet and compiled it into one video for educational purposes. It was on the 20th of May in 2005 when a fisherman came across the decomposing body of Loretta Lynn Lewis. The 28-year-old was found in the canal on the outskirts of Jennings. Now, Loretta was well known for battling her drug addiction, and she was actually a well-known sex worker. The authorities did believe that her death may have been a drug deal gone wrong. Just 1 month later, on the 18th of June, another working girl was found in the canal off highway south of Jennings with her throat slit. And this would be 30-year-old Ernestine Marie Daniels Patterson. 2 men were actually held in custody in relation to this crime for second-degree murder, but those charges would later be dropped. On the 18th of March in 2007, a third victim was found in the same circumstances as the other ones with the same profile. She'd struggled with things like drug abuse like the other 2. The third victim was 21-year-old Kirsten Gary Lopez. Once again, 2 more suspects were actually arrested. Frankie Richards was actually a well-known Jennings pimp, and his niece Hannah Connor. Once more, they were later released due to a lack of evidence. Now, over the next year and a half, the police would find the bodies of 4 more girls in similar circumstances, and most of them would actually be too decomposed to find out their cause of death. Whitney Dubois, 26-year-old. Laciana Brown, 23, and she was actually found once more with a throat slit. Crystal Shea Zeno, who was 24, and Brittany Gary, who was 17. Again, these girls were found in similar positions in canals around Jennings, in swamps around Jennings. And like I said, because most of the bodies were actually decomposed and didn't really show any signs of trauma, they couldn't really determine the actual cause of death. So they didn't have any broken bones or anything like that. And it was assumed that they probably did die of asphyxia. The police obviously did a full investigation. And like I said, there were a few suspects, but there wasn't really much to go on. In December of 2008, the current sheriff, Ricky Edwards, actually announced the formation of a task force to investigate these murders. The task force consisted of 14 federal, state and local enforcement agencies. And this did kind of reassure some of the town, and the fact that they had put together this quite a large task force to scrutinise the details of the case and to try and just find any evidence really. It kind of made people hope, as it would anyone, that no more murders would actually take place. With this task force there, actively looking into it, I guess it made people think that surely no other murders would be made because they are actively looking into it and you're probably more likely to be caught. And who wouldn't want this? Of course, nobody wants anyone to have their life stolen from them. It's just awful to think about. But unfortunately, this didn't actually prevent the 8th death of this case. And also, it didn't even provide any new answers. In August 2009, the body of Nicole Guillory was spotted off the I-10 in nearby Arcadia Parish, and she was just 26 years old at the time. Later on, Sheriff Edwards would actually announce that the police did believe that this was the work of a serial killer. And this was when the task force more than doubled their reward for any information that would lead them to the killer of the Jennings 8. And pretty much from the beginning, the police were looking for a serial killer by all accounts. And this case actually did end up on national media. And in January 2010, the New York Times had written an article that reported the fear and the frustration felt by the family members of these victims. And it actually highlighted missteps of the local authorities in charge of solving the cases. So this was actually taken from the Times, and it noticed that the chief investigator had actually bought a pickup truck from an inmate who was known to be friends with one of the victims. And a witness even saw the third victim, Kirsten Lopez, in this actual pickup truck on the same day of the disappearance. So it was actually thought that maybe this pickup truck was the last car that she actually travelled in before she disappeared, and unfortunately her body was found later on. But by this point, like I said, the police officer had already purchased the car, which meant that it had been cleaned and it had already been resold. This investigator was actually fined and he was removed from the case. And this article went on to catch the eye of a New Orleans-based writer called Ethan Brown. And in mid-2011, Ethan Brown would actually go to Jennings and he would perform his own investigation in quite great detail, actually. He did uncover evidence, apparently, that led him away from the serial killer theory and more towards a complex cover-up by authorities. He stated that not only did these victims know each other quite well, they also served as police informants, and family members have said that just before they disappeared, they seemed frightened and anxious. He kind of made it clear in his eyes that the victims couldn't rely on police protection. I also read that some of these victims, again, I said they were police informants, they had seen things like a shooting and they were informing on the police before they disappeared. So I think he believes along the lines of the people that they were informing on were actually may have been the people responsible for the deaths. Again, I'm not really sure, and I'd just like to let you know that this is just Ethan Brown's theory. It's not my theory, and I'm not personally accusing the authorities of basically anything. It's just the information that I found online to do with this case. And it could possibly be another theory that you guys may want to look into yourselves. Ethan also wrote a book about the Jennings 8, and this was called Murder in the Bayou: Who Killed the Women Known as the Jeff Davis 8. If you want, obviously you can check this out and look into his theories around what he believes to be misconduct by law enforcement. There's not really that much information on this case, unfortunately, from what I could find. Again, he did thorough investigation, so if you do want to get the book and look into it that way. But there's not too much available on the internet really, which is so unfortunate because 8 women were murdered and we still don't know why, what happened to them. We don't know who did it. Their families and stuff must be so distraught and upset to not actually know who took their loved one away. We need to find them, and they do need to serve the justice. And hopefully one day this will happen and the family may be able to find some closure. I know obviously it's not going to bring the family member back, but at least we want to catch who actually did this, whether it be one person or whether it be multiple. Now, the Jennings 8 have been featured quite a lot in the media. They featured twice on the Investigation Discovery Network, and this was in 2012. They were also the subject of an episode in Dark Minds, where the host actually visited the area and interviewed several people connected with the case. In 2018, the Dr. Oz Show featured the case as part of its True Crime Tuesday series. In 2019, a 2-part documentary aired called Death in the Bayou, and this was all about the Jennings 8. In September 2019, it was announced that Murder in the Bayou, which was a new 5-part documentary about the case, would air on Showtime Network. So there's been quite a lot of coverage. Like I said, there's not really that much information relating to the victims and things like that on the case, but there's been so much media coverage. There's been tons of it. And the fact that we still don't know what happened to them is just so sad. So there've been allegations, there's been suspects, documentaries, books. It's been investigated and reinvestigated multiple times, but we're still no closer to finding out what happened. Please do let me know what you guys think about this case in the comments below. Again, I really don't know whether this was a cover-up by the authorities or anything like that. I would just like to find out what happened to these girls and who was responsible, and just basically make them serve the justice for what they did. Because whoever, like I said, don't know if it's one person or multiple, but these 8 women lost their lives. And it's just heartbreaking. Please do let me know if you have any case suggestions, if you'd like me to look into any of them, and I will do for you. You can just let me know in the comments below. Anyway guys, that's all I have today on the case of the Jennings 8. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bye.